Hello, Abigail here with the astrology and tarot for the new moon in Taurus. This new moon is on May 16th at 3 p.m. CDT. It is going to be interesting because, firstly, it is our only exalted moon of the year, or new moon of the year. We'll have the exalted full moon over in Scorpio season, and then there's the domicile moon, which is in Cancer, and then the domicile full moon, which is sometimes in the same year and sometimes not, depending on what year we're in. And currently, I can't remember if we had it. We have it in 20. I think we had it at the beginning of this year, so we won't have it at the beginning of next year. Um, so, anyways, because it's exalted, this is technically a better moon. We do have some tricky stuff going on because it is conjunct the fixed star Algol. Yes, yes, but it is sextile Jupiter and also conjunct Ceres. So this is a really interesting one. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Bright side, it's not connected at all to the malefics. The ruler is Venus in Gemini, which makes this more fun and playful and dynamic. This is also a moon that tends more towards communication and interest in like a diversity of thought. So this is kind of an exploratory moon to me. It feels good. I know with Algol there's going to be some difficult themes involved, but definitely for 2026 it feels hopeful. It feels as though stuff is starting to shift, especially if you've been doing a lot of work. Um, let's get into Algol for a second. So, Algol is the head of Medusa. Um, and in traditional astrology, destruction, bad luck, not good things happen around Algol. Algol, also, when you look at it in the sky, blinks. And so the ancients were like, that's really threatening. And so it's associated with not great things happening. The modern interpretation, because we kind of have unpacked the lore of Medusa a bit more, is more of this idea of reclaiming strength and power through violence, because Medusa didn't ask for people to show up at her island and, try to force her to do stuff. Like, what were those men doing there? Why were they going to her island? And then they're like, oh no, we got turned into stone. So for me, it's about reclamation. It's about allowing yourself to be who you are in all of your experiences and traumas, and learning to be true to yourself in spite of other people maybe trying to sever parts of you, to defang your personal power. And when we have a moon conjunct it, to me, it's about reclaiming personal power and pushing back against the narratives that people tell about us, and have created, if someone's always like, oh, when you were like 5, you were like, you like chocolate and you stole it, and so you're a thief, ha 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 ha, and they always tell that story about you. Algol's about being like, no, I'm tired of this narrative. I'm done with you creating dialogues and stories and punishing me for standing up for myself. And then in Taurus, we're dealing with things that are physical and material. And also in the third decan, fun fact, I am interested to hear about everybody's dreams. In the third decan, we're also dealing with the most um, kind of one of the more intense portions of Taurus. It's ruled by Mars. So there's a lot going on here. And I like the little Mars rulership because Mars is still Marsing over in Aries. So there's like an element here of within the softness of Taurus. And also Taurus can be really rough, but within what can be a really lush scenery, we also have some rocky bits. But I think the rocky bits are more us um, calling in our own power, standing on what we believe in, uh, refusing to accept these narratives. Also, if you think about Algol as the head of Medusa and the fact that they put her head on, a shield and then used her to protect them, there is a story about the patriarchy weaponizing women and using them as shields after taking their power, after removing their fangs. And so in this moment, I think it's about reclaiming one's sense of power, reclaiming one's ability to lash out, one's ability to say, no, this is my boundary. It is not unhealthy to react to someone's bad behavior. I get tired of people acting like it is. Now, is it unhealthy to like be mean all the time? Yeah, probably. But like when someone is mean to you, there is actually no issue with you being mean back. I mean, unless you want a long-term relationship, then maybe we should learn not to communicate in a mean way. But maybe you shouldn't be with someone who speaks to you who's mean. Maybe you should be in a friendship with someone who's mean, or maybe a family dynamic isn't great with someone who's mean. But like you're allowed to react. And I think a lot of times when we think about like domicile and exalted placements, we make them very traditional and like very rigid. And I think this conjunction with Algol allows us to kind of expand on the more aggressive aspects of Taurus and the fact that Taurus does house Algol, or at least will for several hundred more years, because Algol does the degrees shift over time. Um, and so in this moment, like it is time to be the bull. It is time to put the horns down. It is time to stand up for yourself. And I think you might find some really beautiful things in this new moon by being aggressive, by saying no, by setting boundaries, by telling people that you can't do that to me, and we're not going to continue these narratives. And if you want to be open to, if you want to stop pushing these narratives and you want to stop pretending that whatever stories you've been telling about me are true, or boundaries, like these people showing up on Medusa's island, telling people, no, this is my stuff, you can't touch it. Being like, hey, I don't appreciate being spoken over. If you do have a intimate relationship of some kind, either a friendship or a romantic partner, we could see themes of recognizing in places where you have sacrificed or lost yourself, regardless of gender, but definitely in the spaces that we consider more feminine. Because while the gender binary isn't really real, we still very much function within it. Um, and you can push it and break it as much as you want, but we still have to unpack what the consequences of living in it are. This is coming from someone who is non-binary trans. And so in this moment, it is pushing back against the narrative. I also think it is also pushing back against the narrative that certain traits are feminine and certain traits are masculine, like the lie that like men are protectors. What? And this isn't like men are protectors, women are protectors, and having a fight over it. It's like, no, the patriarchy is not protective. It literally sacrifices men, women and children especially, but also men. They're not protecting anything. And so in this new moon, it does feel as though there's this like recognition of being like, oh, this is like not real and not true. Also, if we're talking about, Mars as the ruler of the third decan, it's conjunct Chiron that day. And so there is a lot of wounding and a lot of trauma coming up in the place in your chart that has Aries in it. And so it is about learning to fight back. It's about learning to unpack how we have been demonized. And then that demonization has then been used to protect other people from consequences. Um, and then also to check in and be like, hey, let's make sure we're not doing that to someone else. So it's a really transformative new moon. It feels very personal. I think on the world stage, I find in astrology that in personal astrology, it is more psychological, it is more nuanced. But I will say in mundane astrology, which is the astrology of like world events, I find that the traditional astrological interpretations are more true. So in your personal life, to me, it is the dialogue about Medusa and this, this like unpacking of how we have like created this narrative around femininity that it's like tame and small and widow and honestly very white and very Edie, and very like uh wears certain things, looks a certain way, long hair, all of these things. And none of those things are bad in and of themselves, but when you put them all together, we get this beautiful this beautiful misogynistic patriarchal, and I'm using sarcastically, combination that creates this distortion of what femininity is, and also disenfranchises and robs people who are not white and indigenous cultures and societies and all those things, because oh no, you have body hair, you like dress traditionally, or anything outside of like white Western norms. And so I think on like a personal level, we are talking about these things. And on the world level, I think, yes, those topics are still true, but I also think that the traditional medieval interpretations of these things, of like doom, destruction, misfortune, are going to be in the forefront. I also do think this is obviously the follow up to the full moon in Scorpio, which was about reproductive rights. I think we're going to see more stuff about reproductive rights because we are conjunct Algol, which I've talked about how this is associated with like femininity and women, and people, like women in the sense of biology, but also like people who identify as women and well, I shouldn't say that. People who are women. Um, this also includes them, even if reproductive issues are not a topic for them. And so in this moment, I think we're going to see a nice little it's always multi-layered, but I think this one is especially nuanced. And we're going to be seeing not only kind of the misfortune and the malefic qualities coming out, but then also this undercurrent of a discussion around what is woman, what is femininity, what is womanhood. I also think we're going to see on that day a lot of women who are fascists saying a lot of things, because this, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Um, so another interesting feature is we have the sextile over here with Jupiter. Also, I forgot to tell you the degree of this moon is 25 degrees of Taurus, which is pretty much smack in the middle of Algol. And with fixed stars, we're usually looking at maximum 3 degrees, and some people only read them at 1 degree of a conjunction. Um, so we have that with this Jupiter sextile. I do think the conversation around femininity and womanhood, I do also think we're going to see stuff around my fellow trans folks, because once again, what is a woman, and women can't have hard edges and all these things, and therefore we're going to pretend that trans women aren't women and they're men, which no, we're not. Not a conversation we're going to pander to, you know. And you could even argue that in a sense Medusa is kind of at the root of this argument, because Medusa doesn't care. Medusa refuses to be objectified. And the undercurrent of this thing is the men want ownership over Medusa and her sisters. And um, they can't get it. And that's the root of anti queerness and anti feminist and all these things, because it is about control. And so I think we're going to see power struggles when it comes to identity, when it comes to women, when it comes to queer folks. I think on the other side, there's going to be a lot of victories for people, personally. But on the world stage, we're going to see an even harder crackdown for sure. I also think we're going to see, which we're already seeing, a rise in like bots trying to spread stuff around. We're also going to start to see, they've been kind of crop dusting just the whole like MAGA cult ideology, but I think on a different level, we're also going to be seeing like infiltration where they try to get inside of movements and divide people. We're going to start to see that too. So keep your eyes peeled. This is also very Uranus and Gemini, which I think has a really strong correlation to propaganda. Uranus and Gemini moved into Gemini last time, with the middle of World War II. And so we're also going to get a rise in propaganda. I also think this new moon is going to have a lot to say about the current return to really glorifying eating disorders as well. So, partially because we do have Ceres conjunct, and Ceres is about care and about nurture and about how we tend to ourselves. And in Taurus, it's very much about the body and how we um, enrich ourselves on a physical plane, and how we take care of ourselves and how we tend to ourselves. It's also about children. I think we are also going to be seeing a lot of issues with how people view and connect with children. Um, there's an issue in like leftist culture of hating kids, which I really dislike. They also hating disabled people. We're going to be seeing these themes coming through very strongly in this moon. You don't have to want kids in order to treat them like human beings, FYI. um, I also do spirit baby work and have nannied kids for many years, so I feel very impassioned about children's rights, which they don't really have any. Fun fact: legally, they don't have rights. Disabled people and children have the least amount of rights in the world. Um, and then you add other intersections, and it gets worse. So this moon to me is about liberation. This moon is about breaking norms. This moon is about refusing to allow yourself to be put in a box and told to fit into it. I do think it's going to have a lot to do about body standards and cultural ideals. I also think it's going to have a lot to say about fashion. We've seen kind of a sucking of color from the fashion scene. Um, very much due to fascism and whiteness. So I think we're going to see pushback. I also kind of predicted earlier that I do think 2026 is when we're going to see, especially with Saturn and Aries and Neptune and Aries, we're going to see a rise of like major counterculture movements, which I'm excited for. I think we're going to start to see those really pop up. I think we're going to start to get new music because we've started to settle into these things, and Taurus rules the voice, la voce. So yeah, this moon is really complicated. There's a lot of benefic possibilities. There's an ability to learn to re-nurture yourself and to re-love yourself. There's also an ability to strip away old ideas and old beliefs about how you should look, how you should appear. I've also seen, I don't know if it's just my algorithm on threads, but I've also seen a lot of talk about people talking about how they look and if they're ugly or not. And something that is always missing from that dialogue is like, who gets to decide what ugly is? And a lot of it is just white supremacy and fat phobia and ableism. And so I think for a lot of us, there's an opportunity to unpack these topics. There's an opportunity to have discussions around these topics. There's an opportunity also to talk about the value of self. I've also seen a lot of dialogue online about whether someone is valuable if they are wanted by others, especially when it comes to romance, which feels very full moon in Scorpio, like being sexually desired by something and also romantically desired, because those are two separate things that we often conflate. That's going to be coming up in this new moon as well. I do think kind of the hard part might be feeling this sense of like not asking why we don't get something because maybe we look a certain way. But I would encourage you to go the other direction and be like, why would I think that I would need to look a certain way in order to deserve something? So yeah, a lot of things about image, perception of self, Venusian things like values. They're all coming up to the surface here in Taurus. And they're all, a lot of it's going to be about the physical body. If you do struggle with certain things, I have honestly feel like I've recovered from a very severe eating disorder. If you're there, this could also trigger that with Mars conjunct Chiron. So just be gentle with yourself. Um, if there's certain content around the 16th that is talking about fitness and thinness, you might want to skip, because it may not be healthy for you to engage in that around this time because it's going to be amplified by this new moon. But yeah, I know this I can never tell how I'm perceived. Welcome to being autistic and having Mercury square Neptune. I hope that all of this made sense, but it is a very complex and intricate moon that has so much to say about the culture we're living in now. And I know I'm speaking from a US perspective, but I know that these themes exist in different ways and in different cultural aspects in other places. Colonialism affects everybody. um, and also, when I say cultural norms, I'm not necessarily talking about in the US, I'm talking about everywhere. But like colorism is a huge thing pretty much across the board because of racism, xenophobia, all of these things. Instead of asking, like, why am I not socially acceptable? Ask why society refuses to accept uniqueness, difference, the global majority, which is crazy, things like that. All right, so also, I switch over to tarot, because I promised myself I'm not just gonna go into it. I'm gonna do a timestamp because I know not all of my followers are tarot girlies and not all of my followers are astrology girlies. So I'm gonna do a timestamp so you guys can pick which one you want to go to, where you want to be headed. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the video and I didn't. Y'all will forgive me. But with the Jupiter sextile, I think all of this discussion, all of these topics, all of these things have an incredibly high likelihood to have a really positive effect long term, to really shift the way that we care and love for ourselves and each other. I also think if all of us could unpack our internalized ableism, the world would be a better place. And so, also asking yourself why these beauty standards, why these cultural and societal norms exist, and how we can unpack them and retrain ourselves in this new moon, I think is really important. And I think with the help of Jupiter, there is a possibility for the work that we do now to be so much more expanded and clear. Um, Rather than just kind of like being a moment and we're like, well, back to the old. I think really this could lead to long-term transformation, which I'm really excited for. And because, Jupiter works in 12, cycles, looking to the next new moon in Taurus next year might be a good idea. And a little note in the back of the brain to be like, oh, I want to circle back in a year and see what I was processing during this time and how it has changed my life. Because I think this new moon is very capable, if we work with it, of shifting our perspectives around self. I also think if we're talking about what we deserve because of how we look or how we present or what we have to offer society, we also have to be like, oh, this is a chance to shift how I view abundance, to shift how I view luck, to shift how I view whether someone is deserving or not of something, deserving of love, deserving of money. And the answer is everyone is deserving of those things, regardless of whatever's going on. But all of us, in one area or another, I am sure we do have places where we don't feel as though we deserve something, or we're just like, I deserve it, but I never get it. So this is an opportunity to shift. I do think this is an excellent opportunity to manifest, to call in abundance, but I do think being thoughtful around what you're calling in, why you're calling it in, um, and then because it is in Taurus, I would suggest maybe getting a little dressed up for your manifestations or dressed down, depending on what you're manifesting. Because if you're manifesting certain forms of pleasure, maybe being in something a little more skimpier and sexy might get you more in the mood to manifest that type of thing. So basically, dress for the manifestation you want is what I'm saying. And if you have multiple manifestations, find a beautiful middle ground. Anyways, this is the end of the astrology. I usually talk a bit about the astrology and the tarot, but if you would just prefer this is the end of this part of the video, and we are going to shift to the tarot, which I always enjoy doing these together. I was thinking of doing them separate videos, but I really enjoy the kind of extra insight I always get from the cards, so I do want them in the same videos, because sometimes there's a perspective I didn't pay attention to, or it kind of pulls everything together. But I do want to give people the option if they're not super interested. Oh, so on brand. We have the Ace of Pentacles. That is the most new moon in Taurus thing you can pull. So, new dreams, new manifestations. It also feels like we might be coming up on the ending of a cycle / beginning of a cycle, which is how cycles work, of like us finally kind of getting a concept to settle in or an idea to settle in, and now we can like consciously start something new. It also feels like while we are going to be processing the topics I talked about, I think some of us have been processing these topics for a while, and we're coming to a recognition. It's almost like we're leveling up or being able to move on from a certain perspective because we have processed it. And so if you have, in the past struggled with how you look, or struggled with not fitting into societal norms, or feeling unwanted or undeserving of love, this also might be a really beautiful moment when you're like, I don't know what the future holds, but I definitely deserve love. I definitely deserve care. And not everyone obviously is going to offer that, but I am going to find it. And it's going to happen because I'm going to manifest it. And I believe in my deservedness. I believe in, the life that I should have. I believe in being fed and housed and cared for. And I believe that everyone else deserves that too. Ooh, Eight of Swords. I'm going to pull some more cards. Yes, yes, yes. We have the Judgment card. Ah, two cards. Ooh, the Lovers and the King of Pentacles. All right. So let's do these two. Eight of Swords, Judgment. This does feel like a really big cycle. I also think some of us with this Eight of Swords, this is a moment in 2026 where a lot of us have been doing a lot of work. A lot of work. A lot of like trying to progress, trying to like build some wealth, trying to build connections and relationships. We've done so much emotional processing. We've been in therapy, we've done the work. And in this new moon, we're like, what the heck? What the helly? Because where like I think there's this feeling of stuckness in this moon a little bit. It has a lot to do with being conjunct Algol and the intensity of the moment. With Judgment, it almost feels like we are already on to a new chapter of our lives, but we haven't yet gotten to the place where it feels real. And so we're very much kind of still sitting, not necessarily in the past. Give me a second to channel here. It's almost like we're already in the future, but we're still in the perspective of the past is kind of what I'm getting in a weird way. And so like stuff is coming towards us, we just can't see it because we're in a place where we're kind of stuck. Not when it comes to like us moving forward, but when it comes to what we can see, what we can experience. I also do think for some of you, some past life themes are going to be very big in this moon, and that doesn't surprise me considering Owl is there. But there's this element of like kind of being trapped in this web of past life energy, of past energies. And while you are progressing forward, it's almost like there's a blindfold or just a lack of visibility in front of you. Yeah, I'm seeing someone walking around with a blindfold on, kind of feeling their way forward. And because of this, and well, and also this baby's blindfolded, and because of this, there is a bit of a struggle to kind of fully be like, yes, new things are possible because we're just so bogged down in the energy. And also a reminder, when you do process a lot of energy, it takes a while for it to disperse. And it feels like you've processed so much energy, but you're kind of in the cloud that's still dispersing. And so it still feels like you're not progressing. It still feels like you're not moving forward, but you are for sure. We do have the Lovers and the King of Pentacles. Now, the Lovers don't necessarily always indicate romance, but the minute I saw it, I was like, ooh, new love. And so I do think for some of you, there is some kind of relational breakthrough. I think there's also a breakthrough when it comes to your confidence, where there's a part of you that kind of goes, screw it, and is like, I deserve what I deserve. I'm not holding back anymore. I'm also not accepting disrespect from, prospective romantic partners. I'm not entertaining, this is also very Medusa, I'm not entertaining fools. And the person who is going to love me is going to like believe that. And I think if you're in relationship, this is an opportunity to kind of check in with your partner or partners to kind of be like, hey guys, are we all still on the same page? Do we still have the same plans and goals? I've also been encountering this a lot, and I don't know if it's because I moved to a different part of the country or if it's just the energy of right now. I've also encountered a lot of people who have been in relationships for a long time and they don't have any goals. And so this also might be a beautiful opportunity, King of Pentacles, if you are in a long-term relationship, to kind of get back and be like, what are our dreams? What are our hopes? What do we want to accomplish together as a group, as either partners, or if you're in a like more expanded romantic dynamic with multiple partners, like just coming together and being like, oh, these are our hopes and dreams. This new moon is really, I think, good for connecting to hopes and dreams, and not in like a stereotypical sense, but more of in like, what is unique to us? What are desires that are unique to us as partners? What are desires in this? And if you're like an individual who doesn't want romantic relationships, this can also be for friendships, but like, what is a goal you and your bestie have together? What is a goal that you and your friend group would like to accomplish? Do you have a trip planned? Do you have a celebration you're going to do? It's really easy in these times do get so caught up in survival because that's what we're all doing, let's be honest, that we forget to dream, that we forget to desire, that we forget to crave the future. And I think that's one of the ways that we survive this. And so it's a great time to be like, and this is what we're going to do. And these things don't ever have to come true. You just need something to hold on to. And so in your relationships, in your dynamics with other people, having dreams and goals that are shared. If you have a parent relationship or a child relationship, what is something you and your kiddo want to do? What is something you and your mom or your dad would like to do together? Um, we got to start dreaming, guys, because what we have here, not it. And with the lovers in the card of Gemini, this is also about dynamic thought and the reminder that this moon is ruled by Gemini, so there's an ability to be flexible in some topics that are really difficult and rigid. And so not be flexible as in like, oh, allow yourself to be pushed around. Oftentimes we use be flexible as like be malleable in hard times, but be flexible in the sense of like, oh, I can do this and I can have a little bit of that and I can like entertain this and I can be fun and I can be playful. And with this King of Pentacles, it feels like we're being asked to be bold about our physical desires, whether that is intimacy, whether that is money, whether that is our own comfort and safety. Get a plan to make that more secure, to make that better. And yeah, we live in a not secure world that's very aggressive, not fun. But we do have to believe in more and we do have to fight for more. I'll pull a few more. Oh, and as always, if there's any type of content or um, offering or video you'd like to see from me, pop it below. Let me know. I'll make it for you. Also, please like and subscribe. Helps this channel to grow. Anything else? I don't think so. Oh, just a reminder about the schedule. We get candle wax readings on Tuesday. We get pick a pile or just a tarot reading on Thursday. We get the week ahead reading on Saturday, and then these new and full moon readings happen 1 or 2 days before the new and full moon, depending on where they fall. Deck is not wanting King of Wands. Okay, we got the King of Pentacles, King of Wands, Eight of Wands. Yeah. We got the Ten of Swords, the Tower. Yeah, it's going to feel like a lot. It's going to be intense. You're already overwhelmed. You're already tired. But I think with the Eight of Wands and the King of Wands and what I said about being stuck in the energy, this has already happened. This has already been done. Y'all have already been through your tower moment. This is what I'm really feeling. Now, I will say if you have been resisting something you know you should be doing, you might still be in your tower moment. But if you have been going through it, you're already on the other, like on the tail end of your tower moment and you're already exhausted. So I wouldn't be afraid that this is going to do more to that. But I do think there's a message here that it's about to change, that things are shifting, that things are the work, especially with our other King Pentacles, the work and the effort you've been putting in is going to pay off, and it's going to pay off faster than you think and in a way that you don't expect. But a part of the key to this is that you need to believe it's possible so that when it shows up, you know what it is. Because sometimes I feel like, and I'm guilty of this too, I get so hung up on how something is going to happen that I forget that I really just want the thing. That like at the end of the day, I just want the thing. I want the financial security. I want the clients. I want the loving partner. I want the safe home. And how I get it, who cares? Honestly, as long as I have fun along the way and can have some sweet treats. So yeah, in this moon, it feels like stuff is starting to come towards us. Also, the energy of late spring, early summer is about as good as it's going to get in 2026. So a lot of the like manifestations you've been working towards, this is the time when it's most likely to happen and occur. So firstly, get your ass outside. So that if your manifestations involve other people, get around them. If they involve things online, put yourself out there online. But it does feel like things are coming in quickly and you just need to be ready for it. And the reason you might not be ready is because you're like, Babe, this is not happening. It's not moving. This is all I know. But you've already done this. We're coming on to the other side. You've already dealt with this judgment, but you're still kind of waiting for the energy to shift. And basically, and I'm also kind of with this card, I'm getting like breath of fresh air is what I'm hearing. This moon feels like it is going to clear the way. Now, will it probably take 2 weeks to fully clear and you're going to get your full insight on the full moon in Gemini on May 31st? Yes. So I would definitely look to that. Um, full moon Gemini? Full moon Sagittarius. Oops. Full moon in Sagittarius, but the sun will be in Gemini. Look to Gemini season to be when stuff gets more fluid and shifting. And also when I did the predictions for the tarot readings and the Taurus season, basically end of Taurus season into Gemini season is when stuff starts moving. So know that yes, we are here now. Know that it is going to feel like we are moving and shifting. And you're going to probably be on the new moon and be like, where is the new part of the moon? But it is coming. We have this Ace of Pentacles, we have the King of Pentacles, we have the King of Wands, we have Judgment, which while is a pretty testy card, is also change, big change, and the Tower, and we've got the Lovers and the Eight of Wands. Things are moving, things are shifting. We just have to get this final process, this Ten of Swords, Eight of Swords energy out of the way. Oh, and I was gonna be like, I feel like we need one more card. And the Wheel of Fortune, which is firstly the numerological card of the year, and secondly, has been haunting me in my readings. Every time I ask a question about timing or about like when something's going to happen, they're like, wouldn't you like to know? It's going to be up to luck. So there is an element of luck. Things are shifting. The wheel is turning. We're just not going to know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and it's going to be unexpected, which is also very Eight of Wands. It's kind of like out of left field. So know that good things are coming in with this new moon. It probably will not feel like they are in the moment, but like I said, in the astrology part, dress for the job you desire, dress for the manifestations you want, dress for, you know, like if you're going to do ritual, dress for said ritual. If the ritual is around money, dress nice. If the ritual is around spicy things, dress sexy. If it's around both, dress nice and sexy. You get what I'm saying? This moon is about putting on what you are entering into, where you are headed. Also, I think some of you are stepping into something new and you're like, oh, I'm not ready for this. I can't say that I'm a professional. I can't say. How do people get jobs? By saying that they are capable of said job. Call yourself a tarot reader if that's who you are. Call yourself a manager if you manage things. Don't get caught up in, is this exactly what the thing is? If you are capable, if you are ready, call yourself that thing. And I want you to take a moment with me. And whatever the thing is that you don't think that you are, and this could be how you look, this could be a job, this could be anything that you don't think that you are, or anything that you don't think you're going to have. I want you to take this moment. I want you to say to yourself, I am this. I have this. So if you don't have clients right now, I have clients. If you're not feeling very sexy or beautiful, I am sexy. I am beautiful. You can do multiple of these. If you don't think you're going to find someone to partner with long term, say, I have a long term partner. I am loved. I am desired. If it's around money, say that. Take a moment, say these things, and I'm going to snap my fingers, and it's going to happen. And you know what I'm actually hearing? Because I'm literally seeing the, that's a lot of energy. The Lovers, 6 months. So mote it be. We got this. It's going to happen. And you are beautiful, and you are wonderful, and you are going to have all the things that you want. And I believe that for both of us. Okay? And that is the energy of this new moon, in spite of the fact that it's going to feel a little crusty. during it. I can sense it. Yeah, I am probably gonna have a good cry on the new moon because like all of my dreams and desires aren't going to manifest all at once. That's also just me being an Aries Mercury and an Aries Venus. But it is going to happen. And if you've been putting in the work, if you have been manifesting, you're prepared. And that is all that Taurus asks. That's all that earth signs ask, is that the work be done. And if you have a strong Saturn like theme in your chart, which a lot of my clients do, that's also a Saturnian thing. So anyways, my loves, everything you desire is coming towards you. Is it going to feel a little rough on this moon? Are we going to be questioning ourselves? Yes. But is there an opportunity to believe in ourselves and to believe in our ability to call in the things that we deserve? Also, absolutely. All right, my guys, this is the tarot and astrology of the new moon in Taurus. You can always book a reading with me if you enjoy my stuff and want to do something one-on-one. It's not really posted anywhere, but I also offer mentorships once a month at a very discounted rate. So you basically get me for 45 minutes to do whatever you want. We can talk astrology. I can teach you tarot. We can discuss your dreams. We can do a past life little thing. And it's a lot cheaper than my other offerings. You just have to commit to doing it for a period of several months. But yeah. Anyways, find me all the places. I'm on Instagram under the same name. Um, and as always, pop something in the comments if this resonated with you or if you have a question. And I will see you all later. I'm feeling very social and chatty, and I don't even want to leave this video with you, but I will. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful new moon in Taurus in spite of some of the difficult feelings. And I'll see you all later.